Yeah, I kind of literally grew up reading comics, right? And I think I really got into them. I did a lot of collecting when I was in high school. And I think those were back in I always think of them kind of the initial glory days of like X-Men. I was a huge X-Men collector. Um, I think I always liked Marvel over DC. Um, especially when I first started really getting into comics. I just thought the characters were little richer, and they had more interesting storylines and things. But now, it's really amazing. I think that the all the comic companies, whether it's DC or Marvel or Image or any Independents, they've just gotten so good. With what they do in terms of character storylines and world building and interaction between things. I really loved and I love the fact that they're doing these very broad based, almost like these like meta stories. Like all the Civil War stuff that Marvel did was just incredible. That was really fantastic. I've been reading a lot of the Green Lantern Corps stuff right now lately. That's really really good. A lot of the independent stuff is awesome. So I think it's this great time to be able to go and obviously there's all the classics that anybody who is a comic fan gets into, like some of the very seminal like Batman storylines, like the Arkham Asylum stuff, and the Dark Knight books and things, or Watchmen, V for Vendetta, like ones that now it's really interesting have jumped over into film, right? A lot of people, that's their exposure to them. It was I think really interesting that a lot of people that I know aren't comic book fans talked about Watchmen, for example, like, oh, and I'm like, really? Did you ever read? They're like, no, I heard it was a comic or something, but it just looks like an awesome movie. So I think it's really neat that we're able to see comics kind of reaching a new audience through film. I mean, even things like 300 and or Sin City, where you see it's just awesome stuff by Frank Miller, and and so the thing that I really love about Champions is that we're taking that four color comic, very specifically, so not really edging into like a lot of the darker Frank Miller thing, but like that classic four color comics, and like how do we make that an interactive play experience? And it's been really fun. I mean, it's really cool to see the fact that a lot of guys in the company love comics, read comics. There's comics all over the office. It's not just, well, we're making a game and this is what got chosen because it's going to be a strong market to be in. It's like it's not driven by that kind of approach. It's more like, this is awesome. We get to make an MMO and it gets to be about comics, and people are really excited about it. So it's been a amazing pleasure to like work within that atmosphere and work on a game that is so focused on that. Oh yeah, that's the thing. I think that's great. I grew up. I actually kind of blame my parents when I was really young, almost as early as I can remember. My parents taught me card games to learn to do math when I was really young. So my mom taught me cribbage, because that's more centered around 15s and 31 and like quickly adding up scores. And my dad taught me blackjack. And so I grew up playing these games, and I just always loved playing games. And I played, D&D in high school, in junior high and in high school. And I actually played Champions in high school. And then when I got into college, I played GURPS, which is another table, paper and pencil system. And then, started playing on the early Commodores. So I've always played games and those things. And it's really neat to see now that, one, I've been able to turn that into a career, really based off of the love of games. And then two, that people still have that love for that. I mean, in the office, we have everything from like Warhammer 40K to AT-43 leagues. So a lot of minifig games that happen. There's D&D nights where people are playing. There's board game nights where, especially, we do a lot of the European board games, which are really where all the good board games are coming out of. And where people still have that, it's not just about playing on the consoles or playing on the PC, but there's still that love of tabletop games. And I think that's it's from that experience where really MMOs spawned. That it's sitting around a table with your friends, with people interacting, playing in that multiplayer setting, but you're all right there. Well, how can I do that with a much broader audience around the world? That's the MMO comes in, and being able to be online and chatting with your friends and playing and running around. It's something that's fun to do. That's also is almost just a conduit for being social and having fun, with your friends. So it's moved away. It's moved from that tabletop in the kitchen or in the den, to now, the tabletop is the world, is the computer. So you can, maybe from the tabletop to the desktop, I guess. Some clever phrase like that. I think that the superhero genre has been really mixed. I think there's been some, especially on the consoles, some very successful titles that have happened. I think on the PC, really, it really has only been City of Heroes and City of Villains. And the game was successful in some regions and not successful in others. I think part of that was the timing of when they came out. It was 5 years ago, and then I guess like about 3.5 or 4 years ago when Villains came out. And MMOs were doing well in non-Asian markets, but not anywhere near what they can achieve now. And I think the superhero genre wasn't as well entrenched in the general mentality of people. It used to be where if you talked about that you read comics, or were into superheroes, that was kind of closet geeky. Like, oh really? Kind of like when you say I play games. People go, oh, you play games. Well, now people are like, oh yeah, me too. That's really awesome. So everybody's kind of more into gaming. Now, what you're seeing is that, and I think a lot of this is due to the penetration that superheroes have had through film, is that now it's cool to be into superheroes. It's like, yeah, that's really awesome. Well, I saw Iron Man, or I saw, oh yeah, I love the new, relaunch they've done of the Batman films, like whatever it is, and then even into, again, like I talked about, like for like V for Vendetta or 300 or Sin City, which are, more of the, for comic readers, classics, but more of the fringe stuff. It's not Marvel or DC, or Hellboy and those things, where there's that bigger consciousness for that. So I think it's actually a great time to be coming out with a superhero themed MMO, because I think both of those genres are much, much bigger than they've ever been before. I think it's just a fantastic time to be able to bring that out, because I think that players will be really excited about that, and especially one where they get to be a very important part of that universe and kind of learn about it when they go through it and not feel like they already know everything before they start. Well, I think that we definitely have some things that we're doing that are really different than the other games. I always think that, there's going to be a large core set of similarities, right? Because they're all MMOs. They're going to have the fact that you're leveling characters. I mean, there's just a lot of new mechanics, and there's a lot of nuances that are different, but a lot of the core mechanics are going to be very similar. I think it's where you choose to make your difference. It's important. And the fact that we've got a more action-based combat is very different. Very more fitting of superheroes. Like when you read comics, it's not, oh, they fought for, if they fought for a long time, it's like ranging all across the city, and like there's constant motion and action. It's like not like, okay, get that one guy, pull that one guy, and then everybody beat him up, and then pull the next guy, which you see a lot in fantasy MMOs. It's more like, I'm a hero. Oh, there's a bunch of of minions of this villain I'm facing. I'm gonna dive in and fight 5 of them at the same time, which is very much how our game plays. And then as you get to like harder and harder villains up the chain, it becomes more of an even fight. And then some big cosmic level, villains, it takes multiple heroes to take down. So I think the fact that we structured the combat that way is very very different. Also, the fact that we have a real attention to the fact that we know that players want to create part of their own stories. So the Nemesis system, where players can make their own archenemy that they fight, and they design him and name them, and really kind of handcraft this part of the gameplay experience they have. I think is hopefully a trend that we're going to be leading in. But I think as a trend we'll start seeing in MMOs, where players can start doing some things to put into the world that they play or that they share with their friends. That kind of concept of user-generated content in the scope of an MMO is really exciting, and it's something we're doing. And then I just think overall, the level of customization. I mean, the City of games, definitely you can make a very custom-looking character, but then they tend to fall into these classes, and like they're a scrapper or a tanker, controller, these different areas. But with champions, basically you're developing your own class as you go through. So if I want to make a character that does a really high, DPS, I'm going to take more of the offensive powers and, get items that do that and talents that give me that, and focus my stats on the ones that are going to increase my damage output. So I really kind of design my character that way. But if I want to have more of a support level character, I'm going to take those powers. I'm going to, so I can build a character that if I want to have maybe more of like a dual role, where I was like, yeah, I want to be really defensive and be able to tank, but then I also want to be able to, protect my friends like through other utility powers. I can build that because I can pick and choose and do that. And just that really really depth for, I think, the more core type of players to go through and really design very specific types of heroes is something that's very different, I think, than anybody that will be out that is in that superhero MMO genre. That I think will really help the game stand out.